I want to thank everybody for taking, your busy time from your busy schedule and giving us the attention that we need. We try to put some value in our programs, as you can see, we always have something interesting. Today we'll have Mrs. Sam Gibonnet, the Executive Director of Port of Olympia, present an update from the port, and I just see her came in. Welcome, Ms. Sam.
Great, thank you.
We're excited to hear the update, the program. Everybody, you got a lot of people came in, so we're really excited to, looking forward to your presentation. I see a few new people around. So do we have anybody that's first time here? Be courageous and say something.
My name's Ryan Reynolds, and I have a real estate firm here in town. And yeah, I'm just interested and looking forward to hear some updates on what's going on right there in that area.
Thank you for coming, Ryan. We really appreciate your interest and your support. Anybody else? I know Kat Miller is first time came in. And I know she's real estate as well. Do we have a sound from you, Kat? Can you unmute, please? Anybody else? First timers? All right. So I think it's time to get going with our forum. So again, thank you for coming. We're looking forward to much more of you coming and visiting us for the forum. We're still having online. I'm getting sick of Zoom, but this is what we got so far. We're hoping that we're getting to phase 2 or phase 1, and we can have, again, meeting in person and a real lunch, a little bit of networking available for people participating. And hopefully, after everybody gets vaccinated, it's going to be a little bit less, dangerous to meet in person. I think we have a pretty good location for that. The school district of Tumwater can provide a pretty large location, so we can keep the distance if we need to, and so on. We're looking forward to make that available in the future here. But so far, we're still Zooming. A little bit update from the city. As Charlie said, there's some things going on, some wages for the grocery workers trying to increase by $4. And Charlie, I do have a question. What's the status of the council members election? Did you guys make the election?
What election? I didn't quite hear you there, Gabe.
So after Mr. Olive left, you had at least one spot open. Has that been? Also, we appointed. You appointed Angela Jefferson. Thank you, Ms. Letha.
Okay, so yeah, so this is what's going on. If you want an update, and
yes, please.
Leetta did mention that Angela Jefferson is been appointed to that position. Of course, she has to run for office to retain that spot. Debbie Sullivan is running for the mayor position, which would leave her spot open as well. And then we have 2 incumbents that are running, and of course, like I said, the mayor spot as well. So we we're going to have some changes. We're just not quite sure what they are. So if there's anybody out there that wants to run or is interested or entertaining that idea, you have to put in for it now. I believe you have to file between May 16th and the 20th, I believe, is the filing date for that. And after that, then you can't commit to that. It's beyond the deadline. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. And we're going to have a different council and a different mayor.
That's going to be interesting to follow up and see how the changes are going smooth, and hopefully we get some good results on that. As you can see, next month forum, the school to career from Tumwater School District. We have two presenters, Matt Isler and Brian Hardcastle. Brian is one of our board of directors, and he very graciously offered to do the forum. I think they have interesting news from the school districts, and it's be good to be present to that one. Again, a little bit announcement about golf tournament, our first annual in June 11. We're still looking for a few sponsorships available, and especially hole sponsors. $250. It doesn't break anybody's bank, I believe, but it's a good event to network and meet some business owners and participants in the tournament. Also have some visibility. It gives us a good opportunity to support the chamber as well. We do have a little bit of attraction on this. There's a $10,000 cash, a hole-in-one prize, and possibly we'll have a second hole-in-one tournament with a little bit less prices. Of course, we're going to have a bunch of other nice games, putting tournament, closest to the pin tournament. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. We're going to have a drawing. Part of the proceeds is going to go to the Boys and Girls Club in Tumwater. Please go to the chamber and sign up if you want to play, or sign up for the sponsorship. Well, with that in mind, I think we have everything announced here. I do have the honor to introduce Mrs. Sam Gibonnet. She's been named the Executive Director of the Port of Olympia by the commissioners in 2018. She leads the port staff of nearly 50 people, an average annual budget of 22 million. So that's a lot of responsibility right there. Inclusiveness and collaboration are hallmarks of Mrs. Gibonnet, or leadership style. Ms. Sam is a recent transplant to South Sound to her has called Washington State home for 25 years. Sam has made all of her education and career choices based upon the cool places she wanted to live, and taking a job in Thurston County has no exceptions to that rule. Her bachelor's degree, civil engineering in San Diego State University in California, master's degree in public administration at Evans School of Public Policy and Governance, University of Washington, in Washington, right? Prior to starting a new role as the Executive Director of Port of Olympia, Ms. Gibonnet was most recently the Executive Director of Port 1000. And prior to that, she was the Director of the Community Development in San Juan County. Her experience in leadership is well earned. So without further ado, Ms. Sam, you have the microphone.
Great. Thank you so much. And I take it that I'm going to share my screen for the PowerPoint. If that is the case, I am going to pull that up. Okay, are we seeing anything?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. And so then I just need to do a slideshow. All righty. Well, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. And I too look forward to the days where we can get back together. I think we're all tired of this flat screen world. So if we keep getting vaccinated, hopefully we'll be able to gather sometime here in the near future. So I am the executive director of the Port of Olympia, and you know, ports are, is what Eric Johnson, who is the former executive director of the Washington Public Ports Association, called us the platypus of local governments. And we are a special purpose government that has limited statutory authority towards a mission under state law. And that we have a main mission of creating economic opportunities by connecting Thurston County to the world by air, land, and sea. And we call ourselves the platypus of local governments because on one hand, we are a public agency and we operate under all the rules of transparency and openness. And, you know, we conduct our business in open and we have obligations to the citizens of Thurston County. On the other hand, we absolutely navigate in the private sector. And so we, in some ways, operate as a business. And in fact, we need to go out to the marketplace to compete for 2/3 of our revenue in very, very competitive markets. So we're a little different when it comes to local governments. I happen to think that this is one of the things that really makes us very valuable to the community because we have this kind of foot in both worlds. While we do have that foot in both worlds, we are grounded in a strategic plan and the values that are expressed there. We have 3 main strategic focus areas of creating economic opportunities, stewarding our community assets, and those mean maintaining both the assets that we operate for our business, but also providing community amenities such as the Port Plaza and the Billy Frank Jr. Trail. And then we take our obligations to be a good environmental steward very seriously. And so we invest a lot of resources in making sure that our current operations are compliant with environmental regulations and even more so. And that we are also then looking to how do we add to the dealing with our the legacy pollutants that were created by the port and other players, and that we have good plans to deal with those. We also operate by our core values. And in 2019, and this project was underway when I took the helm of the port, we completed what we call the Vision 2050. And this is really a very sophisticated piece of work with just tons of outreach to the community that ask the basic question of what do you think the port should be doing and investing in for the next 30 years? We had just incredible amount of surveys, outreach at various venues back when we used to gather in public at fairs and events and things. Appointed a group of local leaders to help sift through all that data and develop a number of strategies and tasks to help guide our efforts for the next 30 years. This piece of work was accepted by the commission in 2019, and we as staff really use this to help us shape our budgeting that we present to the commission for adoption and to shape our efforts. I wanted to start out today because this is Tumwater, about a really exciting piece of business that the port is hoping to bring forth in Tumwater, and it is in direct response to also the Vision 2050. And in the Vision 2050, the community said, we really want to see you develop your properties to add towards that robust and vibrant economy. And so with that, we have went out to the marketplace with property. This is part of our new market industrial campus. And so I want to talk with you about this lease option that we have and how we're proceeding and the conversations that we're having with the city of Tumwater. Just to orient you, this is I-5, Tumwater Boulevard here, and Center Street, for those of you who are familiar with the area. So we did in early 2020, we really we're looking at how do we improve both the port revenues, because again, we have to go out to the marketplace and earn 2/3 of our revenue. And so we worked with a local real estate firm, and were introduced to the firm of Panattoni Development. And we began discussions on an option agreement in early 2020 on this. These discussions progressed, and we were able to bring back to the commission for their consideration and eventual approval a option agreement, and that is less than a lease agreement. It basically says, you know, that this firm has the sole right to then lease this area within certain parameters. So those terms are that we have the requirement that the developer will actually execute a lease with us in the first 5 years. So for those of you who may not be as familiar with our business model, what the port does is we hold property, and then we can lease either just the land. Sometimes we do have buildings that we then become the landlord of actual buildings, but oftentimes we're leasing just the land for development. So in this agreement, it said, okay, well, we'll give you this option, but you can't sit on it forever. You can't just tie it up in the marketplace. You'll need to execute a lease in 5 years. We did base the rate on a fair market value, as if there were no endangered species requirements. And so we tried to compare apples to apples that way, and we based that lease on, you know, if you were not required to do any type of gopher mitigation or other endangered species mitigation, this is what your lease rate would be. We did that because we knew that the Habitat Conservation Plan, which is a plan that both the city and the port have been working on for a number of years to really help create a path of certainty for people to be able to develop within the city, that was still very uncertain. And so we said, we'll charge you fair market rate, but then the port will end up carrying the cost of the mitigation cost within a certain level. And on that, we said, you know, we'll pay no more than $100,000 per acre. And if it's more than that, then we're going to need to revisit it. We actually have some recent numbers out from talks that cost is going to be less than $55,000 per acre. So it looks as if the basic terms of this deal would still hold. It's important to keep in mind that the city of Tumwater is the land use authority here. And by that, we mean that they are the entity that then reviews any type of proposal and says, yeah, it either complies with our code, sometimes or not, and then issues various permits, everything from building permits to clearing and grading permits, etc. So we turn to the city. We as the port would make some application. Sometimes the developer would make the direct application. The new market master plan that we have developed over the past couple of years will help to inform who Panattoni is seeking to recruit as its tenants. Panattoni itself would be responsible for the land use and building review and permits. So they would pay for all that. They would be doing that process. What we did tell them as part of the lease option is that everything that you propose would need to be in compliance with the existing code, and that there be no variations from that, no seeking of variances, no seeking of any type of conditional use permits, et cetera, that we wanted them to comply with the existing code. As we considered this, as the commission considered this option, we certainly heard a lot of public comments from the public, and believe that we've been very responsive to those and have taken those into account. And in the recent months have been working, the Port of Olympia staff has been working with the city staff on the possibility of a development agreement with the city. And what the development agreement is basically the city would be willing to say, okay, we will vest your development project to the existing code for a certain amount of time, and then here are the things that would be required of the developer that go beyond, above and beyond what would be required in a normal review process. So it's a way for the developer to be able to put some amenities on the table, some other things that they wouldn't necessarily be required to if they were just coming in permit by permit. But it's also a way to then give them some certainty for a period of time that the land use regulations won't change as they proceed to develop it. This is just to give you a quick look at the zoning map. This area is zoned as airport-related industrial, and that is both by City of Tumwaters, that is their zoning. It's also in recognition of that this property, the New Market Industrial Campus, does have grant assurances and requirements from the FAA that the uses that occur on this property have to be in compliant with their requirements. They also have to, the proceeds from that are then required to actually support the airport property, the airport layout plan, the actual operation of the airport. So there's a lot of constraints on this property for its eventual use. And once again, we have made very clear to the developer that everything they propose must fit within Tumwaters City Code, FAA requirements, and the port's requirements. Also wanted to, for those of you who may not remember this, that the City of Tumwater just updated its comprehensive plan just a couple years ago in 2018, and really looked at, okay, if we were going to do have larger warehouses, larger than 200,000 square feet, which is the top amount in industrial areas and light industrial areas, if we were going to have them, where would that go? Where would those uses go? There were two areas. One of them is indeed within port property. It's shown by this hatched area over here. Then if we overlay that hatched area on top of this aerial, you can see that how it lays out here. So this is the area that the City of Tumwater had said, you know, if we're going to have warehouses that are larger than 200,000 square feet, this is one of the areas that we want them to go into. We have done the Thurston Economic Development Council has done some analysis on if we did have a full build out of this area, what would the property tax benefits look like? And, you know, this is once you know, and these are estimates. We did not do these, the Thurston Economic Development Council did. It's something that they do using a model, a forecasting model. And I think that you can see that, you know, one of the things beyond the economic development impacts and all the kind of direct and indirect and induced jobs is that this project would add significantly to the local tax base. And we think that that is something that, you know, we want to make sure that people understand that this developer would be coming in, they would be paying taxes, they would be helping to support the city and all the other kind of junior districts, including the Port of Olympia gets a little bit of tax revenue there too. There is estimated that there'd be 943 full-time jobs that would be created with a full build out, $142 million in wages, and $365 million in total economic production. So, you know, we feel that this aligns with our mission. It aligns with the zoning and the zoning and the values of the city of Tumwater as adopted and codified in their comprehensive plan. And we think it's just a good thing to help bring these jobs and this economic activity to the property that is zoned accordingly. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the development agreement. I want to preface this that we don't have a signed agreement yet with the city of Tumwater. We're still in negotiations about that. But again, it's a way for the two parties to come together and for the developer to get some certainty and for the city to say, you know, there's some other things that could really benefit the city here. So the first thing, the port and the developer are not asking for any exceptions to existing zoning. And in fact, the port is willing to say, that overlay zone that you saw for the areas east of Center Street, we'd be willing to kind of, give up on that and say, we won't build any warehouses or any buildings that are more than 200,000 square feet east of Center Street. And so that's kind of a forfeiture of our development rights there. We also want to talk about, kind of the location of this area. We feel like that this zoning was done for a reason, and that it is, adjacent to I-5. It has some soft transitions from Tumwater Boulevard and some of the other uses. It is in between I-5 and the airport. That when we build it out and with some proper tree retainage, tree replanting, really making sure that we are adhering to the tree mitigation plan, that really the visible impact from these businesses will be really quite minimal, particularly for people who are going through the main arterial routes, which would be Tumwater Boulevard and then Center Street. We did hear concerns of increased traffic past Bush Middle School, which is over here. And so we've made, and then the developer has completely understands that. We will be looking at designing the circulation so that all traffic is routed north to Tumwater Boulevard, and none of it would go south past Bush Middle School. We have also offered to put in a trail system that would connect both Tumwater Boulevard down to the bottom of our option area here, and then to work with the city and the county in need be to make sure that whatever we're planning and doing with our trail systems are connecting up with other trail systems to provide connectivity further south if that's something that the city desires. And last but certainly not least, one of the things that the city has requested is that the port and the developer be able to provide some property that then they could develop for a community center. And so we have offered up to 10 acres for that. And that is at no cost to the city. So that is a significant economic contribution. The estimates are of somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000 a year of lease revenue that the port would be foregoing on that. And so we feel that it is a very good faith effort for us to say, okay, we've heard your concerns and your request, and we'd like to be able to offer up this property. One of the other things that in working with the developer, and we've certainly heard, and I think we're all interested in, how does any development affect our carbon footprint, and how are we working towards sustainability in the long run? We do not have any firm proposals on this property yet, but we do know that the developer has been in conversation with companies that have very robust and very well-funded sustainability programs. They've already talking in their installation of infrastructure. They'll be making sure that there are provisions for electric vehicle chargers, other habitat or water conservation programs, etc. I think that, you know, some of the potential tenants that they're working with have announced plans to be moving to their fleets to all electric, et cetera. So we really feel like in working with this a developer in particular, we have the opportunity to add a lot of these sustainability elements to the projects. The port has been working with the city for a number of years, as I mentioned, on the habitat conservation plan, and we'll continue to do that. There's a number of different species. Probably the ones that we're most familiar with are the Mazama pocket gopher. But we also have the horned lark, some other species. So part of this plan is that we would then be working to pay into the bank for this habitat mitigation strategy. And we feel like the port being an early adopter in that can really help provide some early momentum to help kick that off, so they can really have development within the city of Tumwater then become kind of unlocked in some ways. Because, you know, I know it's been a frustrating experience for many people of there's just been quite a bit of development that has been stalled because there's not been a good path forward. Again, be completely and entirely compliant with the Endangered Species Act and all the other regulations. It's just our participation, we feel, helps to bring value to not only our properties, but the city as a whole. Okay, moving away from the Panattoni option, I want to talk about a couple other things that are going on with the port. Again, kind of with the focus on Tumwater, and that is that it is time for us to update our airport master plan. We're just beginning on in that process. We'll be selecting people for the for participation in kind of a citizens technical advisory committee. There'll be lots of opportunities for public comment and input and engagement on this. We don't have that plan or schedule development developed yet, but as soon as we do, we'll probably come back and say, you know, here are the times and dates where you can stay tuned and informed about this process. We did receive good news as part of the CARES Act funding and the American Recovery Plan funding. Normally the port pays between 5 and 10% of our match into this planning process. This is now going to be covered entirely by the FAA, and so we're you know, that amounts to about $60,000 worth of value that the port will not need to pay out of our budget, but the FAA will be picking up in its entirety. We've also been selected as the site for electric aircraft beta test site. That's not underway yet. You know, you won't be seeing any electric aircraft yet, but it is something that the Washington State Department of Transportation has selected our airport to then look at. Okay, if you were going to have electric aircraft, what would they need on the ground? You know, what kind of charging stations would they need? How would you need to park them? What are the kind of operations that you would need? So our airport director will be working with them, but I think it is just a sign of the times of where kind of everything is, you know, trying to move to decarbonize our systems. And then last but certainly not least, I wanted to let you know about planning that is not in Tumwater, but probably of interest to all of you, and that is our recently completed development vision for our destination waterfront. This also grew out of Vision 2050, which in it, that what we really heard from citizens is that when we look at our Port Peninsula downtown, that is outside the marine terminal, so this is kind of upland from our marinas, that they just saw a lot of potential for some more development, and that if that development were to occur, that they really wanted it to be welcoming to both locals and visitors alike, and to both boaters and non-boaters alike. So not to have it feel like kind of a private marina club, but really be open and welcoming, have it to be a mix of uses, and to make sure that we're retaining some really important view corridors, open spaces, and then really putting our environmental stewardship role at the forefront and making sure that we're planning for sea level rise, et cetera. So we just completed this development vision, took it to the commission, and they have recognized it as that it will be helping to guide the staff for in the future as we then look to seek out our partners and market the properties. I would tell you this process really generated a lot of excitement, and in particular saw some real excitement about what can happen with a abandoned and really a old wharf that's in quite a state of disrepair. Can we revitalize that? Can we make that into some type of a community boating center? How do we have, you know, a lot of community presence on the peninsula, is how I characterize it. So I think we're off and running with this. We'll be working on, you know, our development plans and how we're going to finance things, what kind of partnerships we can develop, but it's an exciting piece of work, and it's really great to see us gathering momentum on this. And I think maybe, there we go. Oh, I went backwards. So that's it in a nutshell for the update. We have been busy. You know, we just reopened all of our offices to the public here. And, you know, we've had, depending upon our location, various access restrictions, but we're open. Of course, we're requiring masks in the office, et cetera. But, you know, we, like the rest of the world, are looking forward to, you know, how this reopening process goes. I keep messaging to the Port Commission that, you know, there's still a lot of uncertainty in the world from my perspective. There's still a lot of, particularly in the global markets in which we interact at the marine terminal. There's just a lot of things that we should be prepared for surprises for the coming years, probably next couple years. But we have weathered this storm very well, and our positions that take on and see, okay, you know, how do we serve the community here, and how do we really fulfill our mission? So I'm happy to take any questions.
Come on, don't be shy now.
Sam, this is Ryan Reynolds here. Question was it Petatroni? Was that the name? I'm sorry.
Panattoni.
Is there availability to state? Are they just a building developer, or are they going to be also procured? They're looking for the businesses to bring in, correct?
Correct. They're looking for their tenants. And
Okay.
so, yeah, so they are marketing to tenants that they would then recruit, and then depending, you know, it can vary off whether they build the building or the tenant builds the building and they install the infrastructure. You know, that's I think it can vary, but they would be the lessor to the actual tenants.
Okay. And then the city of, or not city of Tumwater, but if the buildings were over 200,000 square feet, then that would then have to be a special exemption. Is that right?
No. So within that overlay area, warehouse distribution buildings over 200,000 square feet are currently permitted under the existing code. So it's within that area, you can go over 200,000 square feet. Outside of that hatched area, you're limited to 200,000 square feet.
And then one other question. Sorry for being
That's fine.
the turkey here. One other question. So the numerical figures, the estimates on the job creation and money coming in, how do you go about finding those numbers to utilize if we don't know who the tenants would be or what the industry is that they'd be bringing to the table?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what we didn't complete that study is the Economic Development Council that did. I think they take the existing zoning. They look at everything from maximum lot coverage area to the zoning. They say here's what you could put on the property, and then they make some estimates. So from there, you take 200 acres, you're not going to be able to develop that full 200 acres wall to wall and building. You have parking lots, you have roads, you have trail systems, other things in there. But take it down and say, okay, at the end of the day, you get to some distillation that would be X number of square feet of property that is operating in this land use. What would that create? So it's an estimate, but it's just not a wild guess either.
All right. And obviously I'm asking those questions because from my standpoint, I'm curious, and this was the purpose of being on the meeting, on housing availability. And if those numbers that you put out there for potential employees, where are they going to live? And that's I appreciate you throwing those estimates out there from economic development. That's really where my curiosity lies.
Mm-hmm. And it is a challenge that many communities have. The port, as I said, we're limited in our statutory authority, and so we are. This is kind of we're typically not authorized to provide residential, and certainly within the airport area we're not. There's some nuances to that. Don't get me wrong, but I think that question for the larger community, including the city of Tumwater, but it's not just them. It is communities across the state and probably the nation. As we develop economic opportunity and our workforce, where's that workforce going to live, and is it going to be affordable for them?
Sam, this is Charlie Schneider. I have a question for you. Actually, two of them, if you have a minute here.
You bet. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, it's good to see you again.
Uh-huh.
So this is the fourth time I've heard your presentation, so I'm almost able to give it myself, but thank you for being here. So the one of two questions I have, I know the port's come up with offering up to 10 acres for a community center, but in our urban growth forestry plan, that property is required to set aside 5% of that land, which is roughly 200 acres, which means by obligation, by city code, you would have to set aside 10 acres anyway. So when you say the port is willing to set aside 10 acres, are we now talking about 20 acres? And that'd be my first question. And to add on to that, those 10 acres that you mentioned could be used for a community center. And if the city of Tumwater chooses not to put a community center there, is that land still being offered?
So let me address the first part of your question. So yes, under the tree mitigation plan, we'll meet those requirements separate from the any offering of the community center. And I forgot to mention that. Thank you for bringing it up. Is that we're really looking to have a very robust buffer, particularly north and east of the school there. So that's where the thinking is that a lot of that tree buffering would happen in there, as well as seeing retainage of trees throughout the campus area as is possible. And then of course replanting requirements as you know. So so that's not calculated in. So this kind of offer of area for a community center is above and beyond what will be required in the tree mitigation.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And the other question I have, and it has to do with traffic. I know you mentioned that traffic would be routed north of Tumwater Boulevard. And I also are aware of there's a possibility of closing Kemney Street. Excuse me. Can you address that issue for me just a little bit, please?
Yeah, we don't have a full a layout plan for traffic circulation yet, but it's definitely one of the things that is likely to be offered is that because the Kimmy Street is port owned and there's not a public right of way in there. That's all port property. And so one of the ways is that we'd have internal circulation throughout the campus that then would close the connection of Kimmy down to, what is that? Help me, Charlie. Is that 83rd there right by the school?
I believe so.
Yeah. So we close all that connection and then have traffic going out on Center Street to Tumwater Boulevard.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, family. Have a
Yeah.
good day.
Mhm.
Any other questions? If there is no more questions, I would like to thank Sam for the presentation, for the good news, and it was great to keep in touch and be up to date with what's going on in the Tumwater area. I believe we're looking forward to the next month forum as well. A lot of things happening in Tumwater, and Ryan, you missed the city update, which was I believe in February. There are several zoning, housing zoning in development, so that extra employee need is going to be covered. Part of that is going to be covered by the new developments. I'm sorry that John Doan, the city manager, is not here. He will answer your question much better. Maybe in the future meetings, if you can ask the same question, then we can get an answer for you. To come back to some of the announcements, we decided to do a little drawing here, and we do have a winner, Judy Clement. And Judy, if you don't mind, if you can text in the chat your address. What you want, it's a wine voucher. I believe it's $100 on an order of wine. I hope you like wine. This is what we got. So the address would be great to have it, so I can send it to you. Any announcements for the participants? I would be gladly open the microphone for announcements. Nothing interesting going on?
Nope. I'm waving at you, Gabe. So tomorrow we're celebrating Thurston Green businesses. There's about 100 businesses that applied to be green. And so we're going to celebrate and highlight them tomorrow at a forum via Zoom. And you can get information at the Thurston Chamber's website. And also, there is a business expo today via Zoom from 3 to 5. We have 25 businesses that will be there. You'll be able to go from table to table and talk to those businesses and talk to each other. So it's on Remo, which is a great networking platform. So looking forward to connecting with those businesses today. It's not too late to register. You can go to the Chamber website again and register for that. We are powering it. And then going forward, we are looking at doing in-person events in May. So that's a big deal. Lots of outdoor, spread apart, hopefulness. I saw all of you that have your cameras on get big smiles on your faces. So even though those smiles will be behind masks, but being in person will be a nice opportunity, and looking forward to golf tournaments coming up. Those seem to be happening, and anything that we can do. So we're hopeful on many occasions. Anyway, thank you for letting me share those things, and I hope to see you soon.
Gabe, I have an announcement.
Yes, please.
Okay, this is Charlie. So the Tumwater Town Center Farmers Market will be held on Sunday, May the 2nd at Peter G. Schmidt from 11 to 3 p.m. and that'll go on all the way through up to September. So
Great.
it'll no longer be held where it's normally been held, you know, right there where the maintenance building is on Capitol Boulevard. It's been moved to Peter G. Schmidt Sundays from 11 to 3.
Sunday, it's a good day to do some shopping. Any other announcements? If not, I'm going to go back to the golf tournament. Again, we're going to have a lunch after the golf tournament, and KGY Radio is going to do a live remote or more recording, I would say. That's a good opportunity to talk about your business and what you think about Tumwater Chamber, what do you think about the golf tournament. So have a little bit of visibility. We're excited for the sponsorship that Nick Carey offered from the KGY Radio. We're looking forward to a great tournament. Again, we still have open hole sponsors, and a couple of major sponsors are still open. If you go to the tumwaterchamber.com, you can see a link to the golf tournament. You can sign up if you want to play. You can sign up to sponsor. It's going to be a good number of great sponsors there, so please do so if you think. Looking forward to next month forum. If there is nothing else on the table, Judy, I hope we have an address from you. I believe we do. I see it here. Thank you. Look forward to getting the mail a little voucher for the wine, and enjoy. Everybody, thank you again for coming, and looking forward to see all of you next month. Thank you.